I've been here before. There's no one here to comfort me. It's so alone and cold. I think you know where I mean. In here, I pray for someone come and rescue me from here where I dwell. But soon I'm gonna set me free. I have to.
Alright guys, welcome back. You may be able to tell from how complete this looks. The car is, I think, ready to start. I've got a few things I'm going to look over. I'm about to go in the house and get a little bit of water. I've already poured a gallon of coolant in, so I want to get some water because I'm going to add at least a gallon of water before it gets anything else. Got the new Supercharger pulley on there today. I got this Supercharger completely put back together, new bearings, and gave it a real nice aluminum high temp engine paint. Same thing that I used on the compressor here. The difference is you can see this shiny. I put the clear coat on it, and that I did not. I'm kind of wishing I did now because that looks really nice. Alternator's freshly rebuilt. As you can see, we're not using the last 1, 2, 3 ribs on either of these because the crank pulley is only a 5 rib. So the plan is I've got a slightly smaller. This is like they make a 5, a 10, a 15, and a 20% overdrive pulley. This isn't a 10, but it's not a 5 either. So it's like right in the middle. The goal is going to be to run it like this. I think this setup is going to give me about 14 PSI, which is right around what this Outback turbo ran stock, except it'll be a much higher CFM out of this M90 unit because the VF40 that came on these was only, I think they were about 450 CFM. I mean, really pretty small. And this is more like a 675 unit if you do the porting. And, you know, I mean, theoretically they can pump that much, but the air gets so hot if you don't do porting. I did open up the V in here pretty good. I also opened up the back inlet. I did the smiley face shape. It's all forged Manly. It started out as EJ257 case halves. Originally there's a 255 in this. Nitrate hardened crank, the tough rods, 8.5 pistons, STI pump, king bearings, and some fresh B25 heads. Before I took this apart, it made about 350 the wheels. Hey, welcome back. Since last time, this car has run. Not for very long. I turned it off rather quickly. Well, it dies out pretty quickly. There's actually a leak right on here. This originally had a spanner nut on it that you needed a special tool for. So I cut that off, and I tried to get this portion here as round as I could. But there's a flat spot here and there. This one leaks a pretty good amount. Had an issue with an identifier pin and an O2 sensor wire. Apparently the automatics for these don't have an identifier pin on the ECU. So when I thought I was grabbing the wire that was on the bottom corner of the harness, it was actually one in because there was no wire coming out, and I just grabbed what was on the corner thinking that it had to be the right one. So O2 sensor code is fixed. Just got to make the wiring on that a little bit more permanent. Gonna reseal this up and get the identifier pin done. The reason I'm doing this video here is to show you guys this pretty neat tool that I had to order. The first time that I went to start that up, the belt walked. It was, sitting here like this, and then it walked its way up to about here. So I knew something had to be a little bit out of alignment. It's very difficult to sight this many pulleys. I mean, when you're looking at it right here, everything looks pretty straight. We're looking for it to be right on the second rib. So the goal is to get it to actually shine on this raised part. So I know that this is very well aligned, or at least close enough. It's within maybe 1/4 of a millimeter, which is as close as these need to be. For every 6 inches, I think it's like a millimeter. Now, what I've discovered here is that this one is on the other side of that rib. I want the laser to be right there is where I'd like it to be. But instead, when I set this up, we're in the groove next to it. So that is no good. That means that the alternator needs to come out 1/2 of a rib. All right, guys, at this point we have moved. I no longer have the shop you've seen everything filmed in, but instead we now have this new shop in the house that we bought. It's not as long as the old shop, but it is wider here, or at least the same width. I feel like it is about 5 feet wider, because I can actually get 2 cars in this one. It's hard to work on them. There's not a lot of space between, but I can get 2 cars in there. You can see there's also 2 cars in the carport. You can't really have the doors open on both of them though, so it's really good for like a wash bay or maybe even a paint bay at some point. So we're gonna show you guys what it looks like on the inside.
But soon I'm gonna set me free. I have to